Okay, good morning and welcome to Yeshiva YouTube, just Daf It. Today we're doing Nazir Daf Yud number 10. Daf Yud moves really quickly. Didn't we just start Nazir? Ready, Daf Yud. Let's start the Mishnah, which really is a continuation of yesterday's discussion. We'll see how it relates to yesterday's discussion. The Mishnah says, Amra Parazu Harini Nazira Imomed Azani. Apparently it sounds like cows talk, but the person says, my cow said I'm a Nazir if I stand up. Okay. Or he says, Omer Adela Hazeh Harini Nazir Im Niftachani. Or the doors talk. Not just a cow, cows could talk, but also doors apparently talk. The door wants to become a Nazir if I get open. Beis Shammai Omrim Nazir. Beis Shammai says, seemingly the simple explanation is the cow or the door becomes a Nazir. Obviously it doesn't make any sense. But Yisrael Omrim in a Nazir. Yisrael is not a Nazir. The Gemara will explain really what the Mishnah means. Amar Rabbi Yehuda, Aksham Rabbi Shammai Omrim Elab Omer Harei Parazol like Korban in Momedasi. Beis Shammai didn't mean to say you become a Nazir. It meant to say that the cow you donate as a korban to the Beis HaMikdash, or better yet, actually, it probably means that the meat of the cow is asur to you, b'toras neder. You compare it to the cow meat to a korban, right? We said that's a konam, right? Every type of neder, usually the usual construct of the darim is to compare it to a korban, to asur it like a korban. So the meat is asur like a korban. Even Beis Shammai didn't mean to say it said nazirus only a neder. The Gemara says para mikam mishaya. A para doesn't talk. Cows really don't talk. Maybe they do talk, but we don't understand what they're saying. Moo, moo. These owners are crazy. Moo, moo. Let's run away. Moo, moo. We don't walk too fast. And we need their water so we can make milk. We need their milk so we can make milk. What do cows drink? Milk or water? All right. So Amar Rabbi Rechama first explains what our Mishnah means. Sometimes cows get lazy. They're crouched down on the floor. Amar kasvura parazu eno medas. This part thinks it's not going to ever get up. This owner wants him to get up. Harini Nazir mibsara im amdame leha. He wants it to get up, but a lot of cows are lazy. So if I don't have to actually pick the cow up, right? It gets up by itself. I'll become a Nazir. But amdame leha, and it gets up by itself. The halchu. They start walking. Beis Shammai is still arguing basically what we said in the previous Mishnah. He says, I'm a Nazir on Daf It. We learn Harini Nazir minagrogos minadvela. Now Nazir is from grapes, not from figs. So according to Beis Shammai, you're a Nazir because false lashon rishon, like our mayor. Harini Nazir is all we take into account. So he's a Nazir. We exclude the fact he said grogos dvela. We still omrim lo avi Nazir. Similar over here. Also, what did he say? According to Rambam Rechama, Harini Nazir mibsara. I'm a Nazir from the meat of a cow. Now, obviously, Nazirus has 3 prohibitions, and none of them are forbidding himself to eat meat. Right? That would be considered to be a vegetarian or a vegan, but you're a Nazir. There's no concept of vegan or vegetarian in the Torah, at least that I'm aware of. But there is a concept of a Nazirus, right? So he's a Nazir from the meat of a cow. It's like saying I'm a Nazir from figs. Again, that's irrelevant. Beis Shammai says we tfol lashon rishon, and he's a Nazir. He still says no. The Gemara says v'hamru Beis Shammai chadazimna. We had this machlokes in Daf Tes. So why do you need another Mishnah to tell us this? I'm a Rava tarte tlas. No, there's a reason. It says it twice or 3 times. It can repeat it. We'll see in a second. Each time it repeats it is to tell me something new. V'chein tanya Rabbi Tarti Tlas. Rabbi also taught that our Mishnayos teach the same thing 2 or 3 times. We'll see first specific reason. 2 or 3 times. Shrichi, you need all these cases. Dit marbaha. When it says Mishnah Daf Tes, Grogus is Vela Hasamu Da'amri Beis Shammai Heavy Nazir. When he says Arini Nazir, Grogus is Vela, right? It's not so far off from Nazirus, right? Figs can be confused with grapes. You're not going to confuse grapes with meat. So maybe we would say that you wouldn't be a Nazir. That's the Chiddush. Our Mishnah, he's a Nazir. Itmar Ba'asar. If it would have just said our Mishnah, Daf Yud, Hakahu Damri Veshami Nazir Bisra V'Chamra. Right? Even though, right, you're not going to confuse meat with wine, but a lot of times what accompanies wine, right? A good wine, a good Cabernet Sauvignon goes good with a good steak, right? A good Merlot, right? Dry wine. You're not going to drink wine by itself. That's disgusting. Tasteless. It's torturing yourself. But it goes good with a nice medium rare steak, rib steak. Trust me on this, right? So these things go along together. So it's conceivable when he's already Nazir from the basar of the cow, right? He meant to say that, right, wine, because wine accompanies meat. But you don't usually eat figs with grapes. Kamash Malan. Therefore, to teach me that even grows in the veil, the mission Daf Tes. Tomorrow, honey tart, which are the case of meat and figs. Hani the Garmin Shamai about Deles, right? The third case, which is the second case of our Mishnah, the door, Amamod, the Hill, right? There's no confusion. I already Nazir for the Deles, right? I'm Nazir from a door. A door has no connection to wine or to figs or to meat for that, right? He said Mod the Hill. That's the Chiddush of Beis Shammai. It doesn't matter what he's saying. Rogus Vela, Balsar, Deles, Deles. Tvos Lashon Rishon, like Rayam says, Harini Nazir. We cut out the rest of his phrase doesn't make any sense. We cut it out, and therefore he's a complete Nazir. The Itmar Hani Tarti. Sorry. Fine. Al Delas Amor Lubesil. Vitana Delas. If we would just said Delas, right? Let's just skip to the biggest Chiddush. Why do you teach me Grogos Hanavim? Why Grogoros and Vela? Why do you teach me Basar? To teach me Delas. Amor Lubesil. He's not a Delas, but Hakamri Besil. Only in that case, Pilas Hill would say you're not a Nazir. But Tarti Amor Lubesil. They would agree that Grogos and Vela or Basar could be confused with wine, and therefore it should be a Nazir. Kamash Malan. That's why in all these cases, you teach me that Beis Hill argues in all three cases. The low. Amar Rava. So Rava asks Aram Racham's explanation of our Mishnah. Mikasani imdam demeila. He interprets our Mishnah. The person is standing there and he's saying, right, if this parah, he doesn't want to pick up the parah himself, the cow, he wants it to get up. But, right, so I'm a Nazir. If I have to pick, if it gets up by itself, right, but he doesn't say imdam demeila. It doesn't say that in the Mishnah. The Mishnah says, Amra parazu arin nazir omedas ani. It doesn't say omedas me'eleha. So why are you saying omedas me'eleha? It's saying that by itself. El Amar Rava. Rava is a different explanation on Mishnah. Can go and it's a para vutalafonov. Again, the para is crouching. It's lying down on the floor. Amar harei like korban. And he says, I'm a kabel this cow as a korban, meaning I'm not going to eat the meat like a korban, a neder. So there's a bishlam para bas korban. Again, this has nothing to do with Nazirus apparently, right? This is a harei like korban. I'm accepting this animal as a korban. Bishlam para bas korban. You can, it's a tight, right? Meat of a cow could be used as a korban. El delas bas korbani. A door can't be bought as a korban. Ella ama Rava Rava amends what he says. He's talking about again the cow is lying down on the floor, it's crouching down on the floor. Top of Yudam at base. Amar Hareini Nazir Miyayin. Imlo Amda. Right? I'm gonna accept the zeros on from wine if it doesn't get up. Va'amda me'eleha. Right? He says a neutral type of turn. If it doesn't get up, it doesn't indicate whether he has to pick it up or whether it gets up by itself. And it gets up by itself. So the question of Achlos Beis Shammai's hill is, what did he have in mind? Beis Shammai Savri Torfei the High Gavra Mishum Ukma Biyadihu. Right? He's angry. He's angry. He's going to have to pick up the cow. So V'halo Ukme, right? He didn't pick it up. Right? He says, I'm a Nazir if it doesn't get up. If it remains lying down, I'm a Nazir. Right? So even if it gets up, according to Beis Shammai, it gets up by itself. That's included in his statement. He was just talking about, I'm not going to be a Nazir, right? If it doesn't get up, I'm going to be a Nazir. And also included, if it gets up by itself, I'll also be a Nazir. He's just saying, I'm not going to be a Nazir if I have to pick it up myself, because that's what he was worried about. But Beis Hillel no, Beis Hillel says only, right? He's only worried about lying down. right? Then he's a Nazir, but it got up by itself, right? Even though he didn't have to pick it up, he didn't want to become a Nazir. That's why he's not a Nazir. If you'll say that's the explanation of our Mishnah, say the end of the Mishnah. Amar Yehuda, Af Kshamru Beisham, Amru Ela, Omer Harele, and I like Korban. Right? According to Beis Shammai, they didn't mean to say a Nazirus, only a Neder. Right? Where he says, or we ask him afterwards, and he said, I meant to accept, right, this para on myself, like a Korban. Whereas a para, Mika Mathis Bamidi. Okay. So the explanation is as follows. Right, according to Rava is saying now, his declaration in our Mishnah is I'm a Nazir from wine, right? If the cow doesn't get up, right? So Rabbi Yehuda says no, but Shammai is talking about a neder, not a nazirus. But right, he said the lashon of this person is I'm a Nazir, right? So once he says I'm a Nazir from wine, right? Nazir from wine, not from the animal, right? Nazir from wine. So then, how could Rabbi Yehuda say Beis Shammai meant to say that it's a neder? A Nazir from wine, there's no way he's right. Even if he said rather than korban, right? The first half of your statement, I'm Nazir from wine, and then the second half of the statement, I meant to say I'm matvis to a korban. You're matvis, you're nazirus to a korban. It doesn't make any sense. So therefore, you have to amend again what Rava says to change it a little bit. Ella could go into Amar Hareini Nazir mibsara imlo amda. We're talking about, he said, I'm a Nazir from its meat, right? Imlo amda. If it doesn't get up, it got up by itself. Right? He's interested in, right? He's becoming a Nazir. He's not getting up. V'halo ukmu, and he didn't pick it up, right? He didn't have to pick it up, so therefore he's a Nazir, right? Because it went and got up by itself. He's only worried the fact that it's crashing on the ground. But once it got up, it relieves him from being a Nazir. Ilo kamas havi Nazir. But he'll really hold this. Amri bibsara lo havi Nazir. Right? According to Beis Hillel, right? If it would have stayed on the ground, it didn't get up, he would become a Nazir. How could he become a Nazir when you're saying I'm a Nazir from the basar of an animal? Right? Beis Hillel holds, like Rabbi Yossi, we take into account the entire statement. We don't take full Sashon Rishon. A Nazir from basar makes no sense. Only Beis Shammai says if we a Nazir from Grogos Vela, we only give credence, give importance to the first part of your statement, not the second part of your statement. They're really speaking according to Beis Shammai's svara. If he doesn't get up at all, he's not a Nazir. Because again, we pass in like Rabbi Yossi, right? That we don't just say Tfilas HaShorishon, we say Apig Gvar Dvarav Adam Nitvas. A person, we take into account his entire words, you can't become a Nazir from meat. The difficult damri is to have a Nazir, but you say he is a Nazir. We take the first words, Harini Nazir, Odulan Mias, to Torfei the Having Gavram Mishum the review. Right? Really, when this person says I'm a Nazir, if it doesn't get up, he's worried of the fact that it's on the ground. V'hakamas, it got up, so he shouldn't be a Nazir. When he says I'm a Nazir, it doesn't get up, right? He included to say that he meant to say that he didn't want to pick up the animal. So if it gets up by itself, he intended to be a Nazir, right? He didn't have to pick it up himself, so therefore he's a Nazir, even stayed on the ground. Or if it got up by itself, he's a Nazir in both cases. That's the conclusion of today's share. Stay tuned for Ian with Ben Sion, where we discuss something I've discussed at the beginning of this Masechta. The difference between Nazirus and a Shvuah, Neder and a Shvuah. In terms of the person's machshava, Yesterday we had Ian with Ben Sion, where I said we came on halacha, even according to Beis Hillel, that you really ask the guy sometimes, right? Even Beis Hillel could be moda that if you say Haredi Nazir min agrogos min advela, if the guy admits that he wanted to take a neder from agrogos advela, it's binding as a neder. You ask the guy. Here in our Mishnah, the way we finally explain according to Rava the Gemara, right? According to Beis Shammai, who says normally, right, and Beis Hillel and Rabbi Yehuda says according to Beis Shammai that it would be a neder, not a zero, but it would be a neder. Sounds like even if you don't ask the guy, it's going to become a neder. Why don't we ask the guy? Why? Yesterday we are asking the guy, and today we're not asking the guy. Even with Ben Sion coming up next.